Everyone, welcome back to the channel and a new video, and this is a bit of a different one actually, because today I'm going to be working on my Canyon Speeedmax, my triathlon bike, and looking at how we adjust the cockpit, because when I did this a few weeks ago I was a bit unsure myself, and I had a little look online and a look on YouTube. The Canyon videos don't actually show it. I thought I would, chuck a little video together because it's something that I think would be useful to people. I have been reached out to by a viewer as well, so I have no doubt there'll be other people out there in a similar situation to me. I'm also going to be fiddling with my stem because I've got a bit of a squeak going on, which I'm not sure about, so we'll have a little look at that as well. Right, let's get into this one. Right, so the cockpit is quite adjustable. I don't know if you can see, I've already added one spacer here and a riser, an angle riser just there. It's not difficult to do this at all. There's just a few key steps that you have to consider when you go about doing this. Right, the first step is, I would say, get your hydration unit completely out, so it's all out of the way, and then when you've done that, you'll see that there's a little screw just in here. You can see that, and that was a bolt. I don't know what size bolt, but yeah, you just need a little Allen key to take that out, and this whole little section in here, you kind of prise it out. So let's do that now. Right, let's get this hydration pack out. Now, if you don't know how to do it, you need to open up the storage box, and there's a little clip just there. So if you push that in, that will release that bit, and then you can take off this front area. And if you've got two clips in here either side, and you've just got to pull the plastic outwards, and you can see one of them's come loose, and there's one off, and then the other off, and then you can obviously access the straw, and that's quite tight. Probably because it's on, but there we go. Take it off from there, and then the hydration pack should come out. Just loosen that from the bottom. There we go. Right, so you can see it from this angle now. You've got the stem here, and you've got the Di2 cables all running up in here. You just need to make a note of that thing, so we can get rid of the straw because we don't need that. Right, so now we come to that little screw which is just in here. You can see it's just there, but when it's behind the straw, so you can't really miss that. And then you need to find the appropriate size Allen wrench. I don't know what these sizes are, so you just have to fiddle and find it. It's the smallest one in my pack, so whatever that is. Now, the important thing here is not to lose anything, so make a note of where things go and not to lose any screws, so I'll put that somewhere safe. So I've got a really small thin screwdriver. I'm just getting it behind now, and you can see it starting to move, and just keep going with that. It should just come out. You see it's clipped in, there's a clip there, and there we go. Not difficult at all really, but just take your time with it, and you should be able to prise it out. Now you'll see what I mean here with the cables. So you see, all nice and neat. So just make a note of how they look, because you don't really want to mess them two up. And just push that up to the side, and that's the clip. Okay, so if we're looking from the top view, you can actually see the two bolts there. One there and there's one there. Those are the bolts that you are going to need to loosen and tighten if you want to add spacers and that kind of thing. Now these bolts run all the way down inside here and attach to the base bar just there. And Canyon, in the box that they give you with the extra spacers, will give you different size bolts. So if you want to go higher, obviously you need to think about the length of bolt that you use. Okay, let's take a little look at the Speedmax bike fitting kit that Canyon supply you with. So this is why this cockpit is so adjustable. You've got the instruction manual here which show you how to adjust your cockpit, and then you've got inside the box all the bits and bobs that you can add or take off, or increase height or reduce height, whatever you want to do. And you'll sort of see here the longer bolts that I said. So those, if you wanted to use that extra high base spacer, you'd actually have to swap out the bolts that you saw on my bike with these ones here. And again, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you can see the two spacers that I've used. I've used that one, I've added an additional one, and this angle riser here. Now, you don't actually get many angle risers, so if you needed something a little bit steeper in your setup, then you would have to go and look for something outside the Canyon, potentially a 3D printed you know, spacer or something like that. I've seen them off the shelf that you can actually get. In here you've also got extra pins and bolts and all of that, but most importantly is the instruction kit, and this is really what I would suggest that you try and read quite thoroughly first of all. So this is the instructional part where if you want to add spacers, you really need to consider. You can see the main base spacer there with the two bolts in. Then it's a question of adding spacers. Now, can you see these little orange, little rectangular things? They are the assembly pins. Now, you get a box of these just here. And it's so easy to lose these things because they are so small. Right, let me show you these things. So there you go, there's a packet of them. They just look like that. And all these do is they sit in these little holes. Okay, you have to line them up. So each time you add a spacer, you add a couple of assembly pins as well. It just keeps it all lined up for you. So it's not difficult. So you've got the two bolts here. So if you wanted to change out the bigger spacers for more height, you would obviously take out the two bolts connecting everything together. And then once you've got rid of any spacers that are there, you then would undo these two bolts and you would replace that with the larger one and these bolts here. That's the first bit. Okay, then you can add your spacers and all your assembly pins, and then it's a question of getting the right bolts and obviously pinning it all down. It is pretty simple, guys, not really hard to do at all. Now, the thing to remember that when you loosen these bolts and take them out, all of this is going to become really loose, okay? And if there's any pins and things that are holding these spacers, you need to just be careful that you catch those. All I do, I'm not going to do this because I've readjusted mine anyway, and I don't really want to undo it all, but all I did is once it was all loose, I just hung the handlebar down to the side. Don't worry too much about the cables. There's plenty of room in the cables, so yeah, they're gonna reach. You can detach them if you want to. When I did it, I detached it from here, but just make sure you don't lose this bit here, so you can pull that right out and just detach it there. Okay, you can just pull that out. There is a special tool that you can use, a DI2 tool, but yeah, I didn't pull it out of my hands and put it back in. So you can detach that one, so you're not working, with this in the way. But this will all come loose, okay? And you've got to catch anything that comes from it. Right, now one thing I do want to try and sort out today is this squeak that's going on. I really don't know whether this is a common thing or it's just on my bike, but I'll see if you can hear it. Can you hear that? Very slight, but very annoying. So I think it's to do with something here. Right, what I'm planning to do is loosen up this stem bolt and yeah, trying to access the headset really, and trying to get some grease in there or some sort of a lubrication. Okay, so you can see the stem bolt here, but we do need to loosen everything off as well. So I'll undo this nut, but if you turn the wheel to the side, you can see there are two bolts. Okay, and that will release the handlebars from the headset. But I don't actually know what is going on behind this bit here. Is this attached? Yeah, who knows? That's my next bit of trying to work out. Okay, I'm going to loosen this off now. Probably better off doing this in a work stand, but I'm choosing not to do that because I don't want everything just to drop. There we go, there's one. Now these don't fully come out. Better off doing it that way because I snapped the wrench. There we go. So you just want to loosen these right off so that you can still turn the wheel. If you take them too far out, you won't be able to turn it back. So that should be enough. Okay, next thing I'm going to take the stem cap off. Okay, remember the stem cap is what bolts everything together. So when you put this back together, it's important that you do the stem cap first before you tighten these. Otherwise, if you tighten those, then you're tightening the handlebars, and then when you put the stem cap on, it won't sort of squeeze everything together. So once you've done that, you should be able to just pull this off like so. There we go. Now, the key bit here is the brakes are attached, so I don't really want to touch anything else. I just want to see if I can get in here and have a little look what's going on. Right, I've worked out how this comes off. There's a bolt just down here inside, right at the bottom there. And the only way you're going to access that is underneath, so this may have to go into the bike stand now. It's the only way. I'm going to have to take the wheel off, get in from underneath, pull that bit off, and I should be able to sort of see the bearings and potentially get some grease in there. Right, bike's in the stand, so wheels got to come off, and then we should be able to access that nut under there. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, it's just there. So that will release, that will mean I can take this off, and hopefully I can then see some of the bearings or whatever's going on. Right, nut out, just be careful. There we go. There's the plastic bit at the front. Right, now obviously the front brake runs down through that fork and attaches to the hydraulic disc brake here. Now I don't really want to fiddle with that or disconnect that, so I'm not going to try and do that. I think probably a more skillful mechanic might do that, but I'm going to try and now just get as much grease in here as I can, wherever I can, and see if that makes a difference. I can see a lot of grease plastered around here, although it is yeah, it's not equal. That's my plan of attack anyway. Right, so it's just a matter of trying to get as much grease in here as I can. You'd probably want some carbon paste on this stem, which have I got? I think I have somewhere, so I might put a bit of that on as well, but you can see I'll put some grease here. Right, yeah, I mean, if this doesn't work, it'll be back to the drawing board, and I think I would probably have to take this whole thing apart, but I'm just seeing if this actually works first up. So there is also a little collar there that you can undo, which I'm not going to do, which I would say clamps that post just there. It clamps onto the post just there, which would probably release everything, and then you drop it out. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and carry on greasing. I've greased the hell out of this thing, and I'm moving it about, and there is no sound now, there is no squeak, so I'm going to let the grease and oil and stuff just sit for a bit, let it soak in where it can, spray it a couple more times, and then put it back together. Right, okay, so I've more or less put, well, I started putting things back together, and I put the plastic front cap end on, and I figured out what is causing the noise. It is this, because as soon as I've put this back on, Can you hear it? That's the issue. And when I feel it, I can feel it rubbing. So even with me greasing everything up, which I didn't need to do, isn't going to harm. It's definitely this cap here. So I'm going to have to, yeah. And I think it's where it's rubbing here. So it's nothing major. Just an annoyance. Not doing it now, but that's definitely what it is. So even if I grease up these little side bits here, like that, which is not ideal, because there's no way I'm going to have that all over my bike, but you can see instantly there is no noise, and that is what the issue is. Sometimes it just takes going through a load of motions to find out what the cause is. Right, I've wiped all that grease off because there's no way you can have a load of grease there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the cap again, and I'm going to grease the inside of the plastic, and that should make a bit of a difference. Right, so everything's more or less back together now. I've put the stem cap on first and then tightened those bolts that we loosened off earlier on, so the handlebars are nice and secure. Before I do anything else though, you do have to test this to make sure there isn't any play in it. So I just grab my front brake and rock it. There shouldn't be, and there isn't any movement, so yeah, you don't have to overly tighten these too much. 2 newtons, I mean, I haven't measured it, but yeah, I mean, you can pretty much gather when it's right, and it should just move as well itself. And the good thing, I can't hear any squeak. Right, so it is a matter of just putting all of this back together now, the way it was, which isn't too difficult, following or reversing the steps that you did to take it all apart. Right, so remember your cap bit, and all we're doing is we're taking those 2 cables, they will go under here. So you slot in, put it the right way, slot that in like so, and everything kind of just loops underneath it really. Now what I like to do with this, because you'll see the end bit is much wider, so try and slot this in up here first, and then you have to kind of do a bit of jiggery pokery, getting the cables underneath, and then you can sort of just slide it down, and then you've got to get all these clips in, so just be careful you don't snap anything off. So it should go something like that, and then you should be able to get it in. That doesn't no need sliding up. That's pretty much it. And you've got to check that the whole screw hole lines up at the bottom, and you'll have some cables protruding, but don't worry about that. You can lift it up slightly and push those through a little bit if you want, but the most important thing, yeah, is that your hole lines up with the screw hole, and then you're ready to go to put that screw back in. So the other thing to be mindful of is, I don't know if you can see it, but just in there, get a screwdriver or something, just there, there's a channel, so that when this clip goes in, your cables should be running down that channel. Otherwise, if they're not, they're going to be squashed, and you can run the risk of obviously going through them, which you don't want. So make sure when you put this back in, those cables that are running down here are going through that channel before you screw it tight. Right, last thing is getting the hydration bits all back in. Clip that there, straw goes down there and into there, and obviously that was it just there. So we'll put the other bits and bobs in as well, and they just all clip in, remembering that there's a clip there, and then there's 2 at the side here that the front piece goes onto.